Hey guys, so for the past week or so, we've been reporting on and talking about keeping predators out of the classroom. Specifically, we have found that a lot of teachers who have been accused of, not convicted of yet, I'll talk about that in a second, but accused of committing crimes against children. I'm talking about full on rape, soliciting children for sex, indecent liberty with minors, on and on. Those folks are able to keep their licenses in good standing until their case has been adjudicated. Now, we understand that false accusations happen all the time, and these things have to be vetted, checked out, etc. But what we have found is this: is not only Catherine Truitt, who is our state school superintendent, not only is she removing folks off the roster who have voluntarily surrendered their license, right? They've said, okay, you got me, not interested in teaching. She is not even, entertaining the thought of suspending maybe for a year or two, right? Until we know more from the courts. She's not even willing to do that. So, that's a problem. And we've been pointing that out. And yet nothing has been done from our Republican state school superintendent, nor has the issue been taken up to our knowledge from any of the lawmakers. Now, I want to present a special case to you. What you're looking at here is the registered sex offender by the name of Jeremy Dale Flock. He was a teacher up until, I think this is in 2022, teacher in Cabarrus County, and 4 counts of indecent liberty with minors, 1 count of soliciting sex from a child, and a count of felony possession of meth. Here you can see that he's already on the sex offender list, and yet he has a license in good standing. So how hard is it, you guys, to walk over to the computer if you're at the DPI and revoke this guy's license? Because by law, North Carolina requires an auto revocation of any teacher that has been convicted of certain acts. Sex crimes against minors is one of them. Let me tell you the process works. Every school who suspects, that a teacher has committed some sort of act, they'll conduct their own investigation. And if there is probable cause or they need to report it a step further, they will report it to the police and report it to the DPI within 5 days. We're finding that they report it to the DPI at the local level and nothing's done. Nothing's done whatsoever. So what the heck is the point of reporting it? Now, Catherine Truitt has confirmed that there's upwards of 50 teachers who are now waiting for cases to be adjudicated through the court of law. Many of them have licenses in good standing. Since we do not have any mechanism here in North Carolina by which to mandate that a district or a private school or a charter does mandatory background checks or fingerprinting, these folks could conceivably, and we've seen it actually, go to the next county or the next state and teach. This is a problem. So when we look at the history of, how Democrats fare with Republicans, or how Superintendent Truitt's predecessor fares up with her, I'm going to give you that data. But you need to know that Truitt has already put her name in the hat to run again for state superintendent. This is a very critical issue. When these issues are pointed out to her, she's not taking care of it. Does she deserve another term? I would argue no. So let's look at the history of what other superintendents have done. So you'll see here the board and superintendent control. So that was in years 2016 and 2017. And this is when the State School Board of Education had the responsibility of figuring out who gets suspended, license revoked, voluntary surrender. Those are the 3 criterion here. So 2016 was under a Democrat named June Atkinson. And it looked like the revocations, the one in the middle, the peach color, looks like those run pretty good pace here at 26 for that year. It looks like the suspensions were minimal and there were a lot of voluntary surrenders. We need to go back to that, I would argue. And then 2017, that backed off some. And, we could be looking at a case where, when there were very strict penalties for this and when the laws were enforced, we saw less instances of these things happening. So you'll see in the middle, this is Superintendent Johnson in this dotted line here. In 2018, right when our current state school board education chair, he was appointed, Eric Davis, when he came on to the board, he said, you know what? We want the state superintendent and the DPI to take care of doing this. We don't really want to be involved with this process intimately anymore. And so, the state superintendent will advise us every month what they're going to do, but we're going to check out. So if you look at 2018 and 2019, you will see that it's lower than 2016, that's for sure. But I mean, the pace for, revoked licenses is still going at a pretty good clip. Now, check this out. Toward the end of Johnson's tenure here in 2020, look at the revocation rate. It's right around 15. Okay. Remember, schools were closed in 2020. Okay. The voluntary surrenders were up there and the suspensions were up there. So it looks like Johnson did more or as much as Truitt when the schools were closed in 2020 than Truitt has done with revocations her entire tenure. So when we look at 2021 here, when Truitt came in, you'll see that's a flat rate across the board, revoked, suspended, etc. Now look here at 2022. The revocations at an all-time low. The suspensions, too low, and zero voluntary suspensions. Now, I'll tell you, a lot of times when teachers are arrested for these crimes, they voluntarily suspend their teachers' licenses. We've checked and have found 4 different school districts have told us, yes, so-and-so, they gave up their license, but the state's not recording it. So it is irresponsible for our Republican state school superintendent not to record in the state's database, it's available to all the public, any of these voluntary revocations. It's absolutely criminal, if you ask me. So what is happening here is Superintendent Truitt is derelict in her duty here. This matters. Again, there's not voluntary or there's not mandatory background checks. Some schools are going to get lazy. There's going to be things falling through the cracks. And so I find it galling that a couple of weeks ago, Truitt came out and said, the schools have never been this infiltrated with predators. We have to do something about it. And I actually agree with her on that. But the one thing that she can actually do, she's not doing whatsoever. So both things should not be true, that the schools are more dangerous and infiltrated with predators than ever. And that at the state level, under Catherine Truitt, she's not doing her job. We cannot allow this to continue. So I'm urging you, number one, share this video with 10 people. Again, this is not a right and left issue. It's a right or wrong issue. And this is straight up wrong. So I want you to share this video with 10 people, definitely. And then I want you to do 2 things. I want you to call Superintendent Catherine Truitt. I want you to weigh in respectfully with whoever answers the phone. And I want you to call your state senator and your state representative. Tell them that this is not okay. We need to make sure that teachers have their licenses suspended while they're awaiting trial on charges of sexual abuse. And my God, if they've been convicted, Catherine Truitt needs to follow the law and revoke these licenses permanently. Remember, share the video, weigh in. Do not think it doesn't make a difference. It absolutely does.